Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. I'm Pranshu, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have all of you with us today. I see some amazing individuals joining in, so let's just give them a few moments to settle down and get ready. I genuinely hope each and every one of you is doing fantastic and staying safe. It's wonderful to have you all of us with us here today, and I can't wait to dive into an incredible session that we have for you today. So, a warm welcome to all those who are getting to know about us for the very first time. Walktree stands at the forefront of technology-driven innovation, specializing in the design and implementation of cutting-edge cross-platform web and mobile applications. We are more than just a company, we are a collective of visionaries and pioneers passionately committed to enabling seamless system integrations and driving digital transformation initiatives forward. Our core expertise lies in advanced data integration, analytics, and the modernization of legacy systems into high-performance platforms. With a comprehensive suite of business intelligence solutions spanning various domains, we are uniquely positioned to empower businesses. Our tailored solutions address the intricate data-centric needs of our clients, offering the agility and efficiency required in today's competitive business landscape. At Walktree, our aim is not just to provide services, but to become a trusted partner on your digital journey. We perform industry-leading expertise and technological innovation to reshape your business for the future, fostering a strong foundation for your success. Today, we are diving into the fascinating realm of conversational AI powered by LLMs. When it comes to building feature-rich enterprise chatbots, many organizations turn to large language models to incorporate domain-specific language on a large scale. However, selecting the right LLM amongst the leading options requires a solid understanding of enterprise chatbot features and the underlying architecture. Our esteemed speakers today will shed light on this subject, providing valuable insights and guidance. Towards the end of the session, we have some time set aside dedicated for your questions and insights. I highly encourage you to share your queries and thoughts in the Q&A box throughout the session, and like I said, we will address them at the after our speakers are done with their presentation. So in today's webinar, we have the privilege of hearing from two distinguished speakers, Scott and Abhilasha. Scott brings with him over 30 years of experience as an astute problem solver, entrepreneur, and technology leader. He has been instrumental in driving our organization's digital and data analytics capabilities, fostering a culture of client-centric innovation. Scott's invaluable guidance and insights have empowered both our clients and the Walktree team to navigate challenges, seize opportunities, and foster innovative growth. His palpable passion for the transformative potential of generative AI is truly inspiring, and we are thrilled to have him leading our team towards new horizons. We also have Abhilasha, who boasts an illustrious career spanning 2 decades, during which she has led high-performing teams in developing enterprise-scale products and applications. With over a decade of experience in driving the end-to-end design and development of complex analytic solutions across diverse industry segments, she has shared a reputation as a seasoned leader in the field. Her contagious excitement for the transformative potential of generative AI further enhances our exploration of new frontiers. So that was a little about us and our speakers today. Now I'll hand it over to Scott, who will further take us into the topic.
Very good. Thank you, Pranshu. I'm going to take over the screen sharing. All right. So, over the past few months, we've spoken a lot about large language models and various, various facets, how to integrate them into applications and so on. And today, we're really going to focus that down a little bit on enterprise chatbots using conversational AI, basically empowered by LLMs. So we'll take a bit of a deep dive into how this works. And what I want to do is really try to start out by kind of letting you know what the features of an enterprise chatbot is. And we'll also talk about our framework that we use called EKAI. So I'll set the stage, and then I'll bring in Abhilesha to really talk a lot more in depth about the architecture, and then some of the common tools that we use. And then we'll look at a little closer too at how we've implemented this EKAI, Enterprise Conversational AI framework within Walktree. So just to give you kind of an idea of where we're going. So let's kind of jump in there. And what are the features, right, of a conversational AI chatbot? And, it's really transforming customer support and business communications in general. We tend to think about chatbots as those bots that sit out there on a website and you type in something, or you're going for help on something and you type in a phrase or a question, and it comes back with about 10 different links that might or might not be relevant to the question that you asked. Well, this is where the beauty of a conversational AI chatbot comes in. So it's going to start helping us really fine tune that and really get to our answer in more of a conversational way, right? So almost hard to tell sometimes if a conversational AI chatbot is done correctly. It's hard to tell if it's a human responding or if it's actually a machine on the other end. So, and that's the goal. We want to make a good customer support tool in that case. And it has other cases, other use cases as well. And we'll discuss those a bit. But let's talk about the customer support automation. And that's certainly one transformative way that conversational AI chatbots help us. And that's really to provide an intelligent chatbot through, generative text and speech. And that communication really can address most customer queries and problems really without any human intervention. And in a way too that, that again, it's more of a conversation instead of you just getting a broad set of links and so forth. So really, really transformative in my opinion, in terms of customer support. I would say also, as we look across this, we look at decision making, right? So the chatbot communication and support can really further furnish data, and it's really data-driven, actionable insights, right? So when it's context aware, so what do we really mean by that, right? And that's the beauty of conversational AI and leveraging large language models to create the chatbot, is that not only is it's data-driven and we get real insights, but we also have it being context aware. And that's something that previously that you won't get in a chatbot. You might get a decision tree that's kind of a set path, but you won't get something that's aware of the context of what you're asking. So another big transformation in that space. And then personalized communications, really with the ability to understand and adapt and respond to individual preferences and context, it really facilitates more natural, more tailored, and an engaging interaction for the person using the chatbot, right? So it really revolutionizes how people communicate with machines. And we'll talk about that a lot more in just a second when we break some of these different models down. But it really makes that communication between human and machine really a lot more seamless and a lot more human-like, really. And again, we'll discuss that a little more in a bit. So it's much more personalized, can provide personalized support, recommendations, and just various services across various domains. And then the other transformative area, I would say, around customer support and business comm is just like lead generation and business conversion. So, the chatbot, the conversational AI chatbot really can easily detect the customer intent, right? So again, not something we've seen out of a chatbot before conversational AI. So the chatbot can really determine what the customer intent is, analyze the sentiment, and then really understand the different sales triggers. So it can better create real leads for the business, right? So, and understand that business conversation. So just really four broad, again, customer support automation, decision intelligence, personal communication, lead generation, and business conversion is just four major, transformative areas that that conversational AI chatbots are bringing about. So what we tend to do at Walktree when we look at implementing a conversational AI chatbot, we do what we call a 4D approach, right? So first of all, we define the use case. So, define the domain and the business specific requirements for the chatbot. So what's it really being used for? What's the domain we're in? Kind of developing the requirements around that so we know what data that we need to get, how we need to develop models when we get to that point. So really defining clearly the use case for the chatbot. And then we build a conversational UI. So build a conversational UI, and what that really means is designing something that's specific for either a domain or specific for the client and the client's users in a way that, of course, that they're going to have a good user experience, right? And then what we'll do at that point is create and define or fine tune the data models. So, this is kind of, to me, where the rubber meets the road, right? Where all the kind of magic happens here is, we create an appropriate data model from large data sets that maybe the client has, or maybe information that's being gathered that supports that particular domain. And then you can fine tune that model and really make an accurate model to provide the customer the right experience, right? So, or the user the right experience, the end user of the chatbot, that is. And then, once we develop those models and fine tune those models, and we know it's accurate, and we know what we put out there is going to be accurate and useful for the users, then you deploy, and you can't forget improving, right? So using things like machine learning operations to monitor models and just continuously improve the accuracy of the model, because not only do you want to build on the accuracy, but you also want to make sure that it stays accurate as maybe the data changes or maybe the business changes even, right? So you want to have a way to always quickly to improve, to monitor, to look at the accuracy, to make sure you're measuring accuracy and efficiency, and being able to deploy and just have a constant improvement cycle. So that's what we call a 4D approach to conversational AI chatbot development. So what are some of the industry specific use cases for conversational AI chatbot? Excuse me. Well, one of those areas we've already talked about, right? And that's customer support. So being able to answer queries, and again, if we look back even 5 years ago, I would venture to say, as you go onto a website or you're logged into an application for a certain business that's providing a service to you, for example, and you try to get help, and you come back with a list of 10 different links that that might or might not help, right? But you might have to read several of them just to get the answer that you need. So with conversational AI, we can pinpoint those answers and really get to the heart of and really the true answer to the question, without the customer to having to dig through different links and reading 10 different articles, right? And the other area is just knowledge chatbot, and we list here knowledge chatbot for helping students to solve problems, get quick information, and create content. Hopefully, we're not providing just answers to students to help them with their homework. That's not what we meant by that, but I'm reading it now, and it kind of reads that way. But the bottom line is just to have a knowledge, a really nice knowledge repository, kind of like having a guru sitting there with you as you type in and kind of converse on a certain subject, right? So a knowledge chatbot certainly and a conversational AI chatbot certainly a good application for a knowledge base. And then a recommendation engine. And maybe you've got a business where for instance, maybe you're in the insurance business and you've got a client who has certain assets that they're insuring. Maybe you've got add-ons, maybe you've got other products that you can tie onto that. Well, you can use conversational AI to be able to make those personal recommendations, right, for that particular customer. And it's based on what they have and what they might need. So, and it knows the context and it knows the different items that client possess. So makes a really good recommendation engine. You could imagine that could apply to the retail industry even. So multiple uses there in terms of recommendation engine. And then virtual assistant. Again, this isn't robotic like it used to be. This is more of a conversation that you're having. So having a virtual assistant there that can help you maintain your tasks for the day, or maybe create new events for you, those kind of things, but really just fulfilling that virtual assistant role that you might have. I know for me, it's really helpful in scheduling and so forth, and just to kind of give me a good outlook on what my day is. So I find it very useful. Lead generation chatbot, we talked about that one a little bit before. So a sales chatbot trained with large data sets to make sales cold calls in natural language, speech and text, right? So another application with this one, of course, you want to be cautious because you don't want to misrepresent yourself. But again, if trained correctly and set up correctly, it makes a great way to do lead generation, and in a way that's pinpointed and getting to the clients that really would need your services or your products. Okay, and then lastly, and we at Walktree have implemented something similar, something along these lines in terms of employee support, but this is another area, right? So streamlining your employee onboarding, scheduling tasks, handling queries, team collaboration. So again, you can envision that a conversational AI chatbot would be very useful when you're bringing on on new folks. I know there's times when I've worked for very large corporations and just trying to find things within that corporation, and I can imagine, especially if you're a new person, it is very difficult sometimes, right? Because it may be spread across 10 different websites within the company. Well, the beauty of this is with conversational AI, you can quickly get to what you need and maybe not even have to worry about a particular website. You may just be able to get the answer right from the chat window. Okay. So that's kind of some of the industry use cases. Certainly there's a lot more, but these are just really 6 big areas that we've seen and have done work with within Walktree. Talk about some of the features that you can include even in if you have your own framework, even what are the different features that you can kind of count on in an enterprise conversational AI chatbot. So those first would be things like enterprise-wide chatbot, providing integrations to different applications, handling different queries that are relevant to different departments within your company. Maybe it's HR, finance, marketing, et cetera, right? You could even apply that to even maybe your supply chain management as well. And then it integrates really well too with the various communications, external communication channels like Google Chat or Slack or Microsoft Teams, WhatsApp, et cetera. So again, more enterprise capability to be able to converse through those platforms as well. And then, correctly identifying the intents and the direct question for a suitable response, right? So when we say that, what does that really mean? Well, it knows that, hey, when you type a question in or you are looking for something, it knows it can quickly determine your intent and really direct you to where you need to go to either ask you a question, another question, or to give you the correct response, right? So that's another feature. And then really LLMs, large language models, enables us to give a more human-like interaction for questions that are really even beyond a defined scope, right? So, and we'll talk about that a little bit too when we look at the previous versions of chatbots versus, conversational AI. And again, the bot can handle questions based on domain-specific knowledge. And the beauty of conversational AI is that it allows us to do this because we can get data from different sources, right? Maybe it's databases, maybe it's files, but it enables us to get, kind of even more industry or more specific data that's related to our business. So even outside of like a Chat GPT or using a GPT-3, for example. But then, with Chat GPT, GPT-3 or GPT-4, it's really unlimited possibility and how you can extend the knowledge that's in that technology, right? So lots of extensibility, and within that you can fine tune that, right? So maybe we've got our data for some specific questions, but maybe we need to leverage Chat GPT. We can always hook into Chat GPT and do that through specific prompts, right? So being able to prompt for a specific answer to a question or a phrase or something, so we can get very specific and maybe not even present our specific details, right? So we can leverage an LLM in concert with our conversational AI framework. So those two really, I would say, work in concert together. Okay, and kind of lastly, and I'll kind of wrap up my area, and then I'll turn it over to Abhilasha to start looking into more specifics around the high-level architecture of a conversational AI framework. But some things for you to think about in terms of features versus or taking a look at features for a traditional rule-based bot that we talked about, where you probably have maybe some kind of decision tree and you're trying to work down and you're trying to get some information, but you're getting lots of different possibilities, right, that you've got to kind of dig into. So not specific. So the traditional rule-based bot versus the enterprise conversational AI that I've been discussing. So just looking at some of those features, right, and let's just look at some of the areas, right, that they don't have in common, right? So what can a traditional based bot, a rule-based bot do or not do that conversational AI can do? And one of those is, the enterprise conversational AI can handle any human interaction that may not have been trained on, right? That's a beauty of this. You may not have all the information, and you wouldn't certainly in a traditional rule-based chatbot. You only have kind of what's there. It's very specific, and it takes you down a path. Anything outside of that, if it has no knowledge of it, then it's not going to be useful to you. But conversational AI allows us to do that, even with data that hasn't been specifically trained on. The next area that conversational AI gives us over a traditional rule-based one is, it can be used to extract data from different applications for specific, conditions by using natural language to SQL converters. And that's a beauty. That's a nice capability, right? So you can actually take natural language and create SQL and be able to utilize that to go into different data stores. And again, that's not something a traditional rule-based chatbot's going to do for you. And then you've got, it can be tuned to use knowledge articles, for example. That helps us to get precise answers to users' query. So instead of sharing those links I've talked about, it really gets to a specific answer. You don't have to read the article. It gives you the answer right there in the chat window. And then it can guide the user into providing more details about asking really pinpointed questions. So conversation, right? So in that conversation, it can help guide that user in to even, asking the right questions, right? And pinpointing the right questions to ask to get the answer they're looking for. And then around just handling advanced requests, right? Like summarization, and that's an easy one to take for granted. But when you've got a technology that can summarize a large amount of data, it's pretty amazing, right? So it can provide summarization. Conversational AI, that is, can provide summarization, recommendations, and like we say here, questions involving a logical inference or comparison even. And to kind of wrap this up, handling inputs worded in a completely different way to match a predefined intent. You can do that with a traditional rule-based bot, but it's going to require a lot more training data, right? And a conversational AI chatbot can do that with really minimal training. All right. So with that, I am going to let Abhilasha start taking a little deeper dive into the high-level architecture. And Abhilasha, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for the great introduction. So I'll just share my screen.
Sounds good.
So when we look at implementing enterprise conversational AI, being an enterprise-grade software, which is supported by LLM, we have to think of the different aspects of the architecture to be cleverly placed and defined in the right way. So to start with, like in general, like when there is an LLM involved, and specifically for a conversational AI kind of application, the main nodes which we need to consider would comprise of these three categories. So one is the basic LLM, like the LLM related nodes, where you directly either use the LLM for your output, or you use LLM as a classifier. So it's like a single input, single output, where you're trying to do the intent classification and decide what is the next step for your conversational AI. The other helper nodes would include, like if you have any extra kind of processing to be done with your data. So if you have some knowledge base which needs to be pre-processed, if you would want to evaluate the performance of your LLM, or if you want to do some user-defined actions, so you can have those extra scripts, which could be the helper nodes here. And finally, the nodes which are actually handling the communication. So communication could be both ways. So the input communication, wherein you receive the data input, or you receive the user input, or you're making an API call where it is again you're like reaching out to a third-party API and getting the data. So basically, these are the different types of nodes you would consider. Like in your scenario, what is needed and what is not needed. And this gives you an idea of like exactly detailing out the requirements at each of these node points. So that is why we start at this point, and then we get on to the detailing of the architecture. Now, with the conversational AI or chatbot, you would expect a like a standard architecture involves a retriever-based architecture where you would have a generator and a retriever. So generally, when you build an enterprise chatbot, it would not be directly using the ChatGPT model. You would definitely need your knowledge to be augmented into the model so that it is able to cater to your customer questions, your employee questions, and it becomes specific to your needs. And that is where the retriever element becomes important. So what you see here is the web application. It could be a mobile app or a web app, which is actually the customer facing part. And this is your backend, which is where you would have your app server. The server would actually have the code to retrieve the relevant data sources and then generate the corresponding response. Also, as part of any enterprise grade application, you would have a proper logging and monitoring system in order to keep a track of how your bot is performing, and also if to keep a control of any kind of biases getting injected or any kind of prompt injection happening. So of course you would have that kind of system in place in your overall architecture. So on a high level, these would be the three layers where you have the user facing layer, you have the analysis layer, which is actually the logic, which is interacting with your LLM and your data sources and giving the response, and the data layer where the data actually lies. So this data would comprise of the log data, the context data, and the data sources. So now if we have to really look at the implementation of this from the LLM perspective, so like if you have attended some of my last webinars, like you must have seen this high level architecture, which has been modified for a chatbot. So basically it's like in the main, you can say the core of the application, which will have the logic of intent classification, which traditionally, if you have used the other frameworks, they provide this kind of stepwise understanding of the intent, extracting of the entities, and then have rules and dialogue policies defined in order to take the next action. Now, the same thing can be replicated in a LLM-based bot without having to hard code any specifics of the steps. You would make it a more free-flowing conversation and a free-flowing flow in your workflow, in your logic as well, because by means of using the LLMs, you can do all these steps of intent classification, entity extraction, and deciding which should be the next step. Now, for example, if you have to suppose interact with external APIs, so maybe you would use your intent to extract the entities which would be sent to the API call. So to formulate a proper API request, make a call, receive the response, and then properly formulate the response which goes back to the user. So that is where we start with intent classification, which would be use of the prompts in a way that it behaves like an intent classifier. Then we augment the prompts with the extra like knowledge layer or extra prompts which we may have engineered depending on the different like classify levels. So each of the levels would have their own handlers, and then in that you would formulate your prompt request. Then depending on the need of your action, you may want to make an API call. So you would make use of some tool augmentation modules as well. Like maybe you would use some ChatGPT plugins or just connect to some external databases. So possibly you have your enterprise data already indexed and stored in the vector database so that it can be used as the appropriate search engine to get the response. And finally, if you have a need to maintain a context of the conversation, which would typically be a need for an enterprise application, because as you are maintaining a conversation with the bot, you would expect you may ask something by giving a reference to the earlier query. So that is the need of having a memory part to the to the bot logic, wherein this would maintain the context of the conversation and get appropriately fed into the prompt and then used by the LLM to finally give the answer. So that is what forms the complete cycle of how the LLM would handle the conversation. Also, depending on the complexity of the conversation, we can make use of LangChain concepts like sequential chain, parallel chain. So be able to pass the input, like take the input and then pass the output to a subsequent chain in order to have a proper flow of logic and then give a response. And you can as well inject your tools in the intermediate steps. So with this, you can actually achieve like a complex logic with a proper structure. Of course, that can be done without the use of LangChain, but just LangChain makes it much more simpler to use and like gives some tools also. So tools like some ready-made, you can say hooks, which can be used and make it more seamless in the overall flow. So if we look at the complete flow, which we saw just now, and then once we have that flow defined, we would take it into a proper implementation, like we have done for Ikai. And we have made use of all the, you can say, the up-to-date tool stack in this LLM app development. So this is an evolving, and I would say a fast evolving track, wherein there are new tools getting added very quickly. Tools are getting updated very quickly. There is, so if you are using, I mean, you may see issues of version coming sometimes because new versions are coming up so quickly. So there is a need to quickly adopt and make use of the best state-of-the-art tools and technologies available here. So as part of our Ikai solution, we have tried to make use of the best of the stack here. So depending on the need of your application, definitely if there is a knowledge base involved where you would like to consolidate and save it in a vector database, for example, or bring it to any structured data format, you would have to do a pre-processing. And that is where the top part of this diagram, which you see, the contextual data, these are the steps you would make use. So you may have to, like if you're collecting data from multiple sources and if you have a need to consolidate, then you would have a data pipeline, and that is where you can make use of unstructured Python, or you can choose a more structured tool like Airflow to give a proper orchestration behavior to your pipeline. And then you take it to the embedding. So for embedding, you could use any of the models provided by OpenAI, Cohere, or OpenAI being the most popular one. And then finally, you would store your embeddings in the vector database. The vector database is also Pinecone, being the hosted version. So no maintenance hassles. It is becoming more popular, but people are also opting for others like VV8 and having a self-managed ones also. Then once you have your data set up, you would go on to your main orchestration or the main heart of your logic, where you would make use of Python or the other like frameworks like LangChain, Llama Index, and then the model itself to do the logic of whatever you're trying to achieve through your conversational AI. And it could be connecting to different applications or just maybe answering a question related to weather or related to some policy. So accordingly, you would set up your data so that you are able to cater to the requirements of your enterprise. And using Ikai, we do that. So we provide an ecosystem where you can set up your different requirements and then seamlessly integrate with different applications. So when you get started by with the development of any LLM, you would have to play with your prompts for sure to be able to come up with some reasonable results. And that is where the playground comes into picture. And with respect to the APIs and plugins you would use, so again, there are standard plugins provided by ChatGPT. For example, Zapier has a number of plugins for different automation tasks like maybe a Google Calendar or a Google Drive, Google APIs. So similarly, SERP, and there are others, and there could be others related to your enterprise which you would like to integrate with LangChain in order to cater to the needs of your specific conversational requirements. So with your conversational AI interacting with the orchestration layer, getting the required data from the vector database and the APIs, then getting ready to generate the results. And that is where so once you are done with the processing, you are ready with your prompt templates. and you have constructed your prompts, you know from where you have to retrieve your data, so you have your orchestration ready, then you would go to the execution part. That is where you have to take care of how you are storing your context, whether it is an in-memory store or you want to use an external cache, or how would you want to log your application behavior so that you can track the performance, and how would you want to validate it. Validation and another very important aspect in a conversational AI, because it is a kind of application which is exposed to the user, and you cannot really control what kind of input the user is giving and what kind of users the application is exposed to. So you would like to bring in some level of control by using this validation layer, where sorry, you have tools like rebuff and guardrails, wherein they provide a control on the kind of input output you are sending to the user, and you're receiving from the user as well and sending to the LLM. So with this app stack, and then that gets completed by your APIs here. So now here I've listed only the proprietary APIs, but then you can as well have your open source APIs also integrated and hosted on your cloud and be consumed by your LLM application. Also, as part of your complete LLM behavior and being able to see whether the conversational AI is expecting your requirements, as part of evaluation, again, you have a set of tools like LangSmith, which is actually an extension of LangChain Plus. Sorry. And there are other tools like Evals, which give you a ecosystem for evaluation, where you can actually generate data sets and do the evaluation of how your application is performing. So with this ecosystem in place, you are actually set up for taking your application to production and being able to monitor it and sustain it in the best possible way. Also, there are tools like Langflow and Flowise, which actually give you a no-code UI for designing your flow in a user-friendly way. And you can actually define your nodes and your interactions, but then, and you can extend it with your code. So with this in place, you have an evolving ecosystem of tools and technologies which make your LLM app development way easier and way more structured. So once you have this in place, you would want to be able to ensure that you are using the right approach for development and deployment of your application, and being able to use it in the right. So I would also like to look into some of the tools in detail. So I've picked up 3 of the tools which we have used in Ikai. So rebuff.ai, again, this is a evolving tool. It is an alpha state, but then it gives decent results. So basically, it is a defense mechanism. It provides you an API. There is a hosted application, and also it gives you the capability to self-host it, where you can host the application, and it is trained to identify and flag some words. So these words are called Canary Words, and the presence or absence of these words indicate whether the input or output is suitable or unsuitable. So maybe there are words which are flagged as positive, and if that is there in the output, it may be flagged as appropriate and sent back to the user. And suppose there is a situation of prompt injection, where suppose there's a prompt like delete all the tables to which you have access. So a prompt like this would be flagged as inappropriate because it has a delete keyword, which could be a canary word, and it would give a percentage score based on which we can decide whether we want to flag it or we want to ignore it. So we can further make use of this framework and accordingly adjust it to our needs. Also, since we are here, you can see some of the examples, like if unbiased is an example of canary word, and these examples are given by ChatGPT. So basically, when there is unbiased, then you know that the model is like to be unbiased. So if you're giving the word unbiased specifically, that means you would say that it is appropriate. But then if the word is absent, maybe you would say it is a biased. So things like that, basically. Similarly, now this is another like very useful tool which I found, which is the prompt layer, which gives you a nice platform to get a view of how your prompts are performing, what is the time they are taking. So you can see the latency, you can see the cost, you can see how many requests you have triggered, and then you can use this concept of tags. So if you can see here, like policy, the RASA classification. So this is the tags which so I may be using my ChatGPT models or DaVinci models. So you can see like there are two different models which are getting used. So depending on the need, I could be using different models in my application, and I would be able to see by clearly tagging like which prompt is giving me what result. I can see my prompt and the response in the history of the communication. So this acts like a middleware between the code and the OpenAI library, because OpenAI being a closed library, we really don't know what's going inside there, but at least this gives us the view of how our prompts are behaving and like a visual representation of that, which makes it much more intuitive for us to follow. Langsmith, another tool which I mentioned, and this is I would say a relatively new one, and as evaluation is also another evolving aspect of LLMs, where you need to be able to measure the performance of your models. So again, in Ikai, we are using Langsmith, which is a very versatile platform, which gives you functions to be able to generate data sets out of your data, then be able to execute your functions or your like whatever logic you've written on top of that data, get the results and compare the expected with the real results. And again, the comparison, since this is a more meaning related thing, a more heuristic performance, what you're looking for. So again, for the evaluation also, instead of going for the like the traditional metrics, we are currently using the LLM based approach of evaluation, where we ask the LLM only to rate whether the answer is correct or not, or whether we give a rating of like on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the quality of your answer. So things like that can be used, sorry, to get a like complete view of how your conversational AI is performing. Also, since it is a user-facing application, you can have aspects like user feedback, where you would have seen in ChatGPT itself, where you have this thumbs up, where you want to rate the answer. So that again gives us a scope of improvement, where we can see and we can modify our prompts and see how better we can improve the results. And if needed, we could go for a fine-tuned model as well. So with this, we would look at some of the possible integrations you can achieve with Ikai, and you will also see a short demo of what we have done. So whenever you have an enterprise environment, you have multiple applications which are which the employees are interacting with, the customers are interacting with, and we always feel it would be nice to have like a single interface to all the applications, which could enable us to automate and interact with these. And the idea of having this enterprise conversational AI is just that, to have a single interface and be able to interact with the different applications from one point. And that is what we can achieve by handling the single sign-on and by being able to connect to different APIs. So maybe for some applications, we would make an API call and get the required behavior. For some applications, we could directly make a database query and give a response. Sorry. So depending on the need, we can make use of that. The second aspect, and another very important aspect, is you have a lot of knowledge base, you have a lot of documents sitting around. You wish your employees would never go and read the documents, but if you have a conversational AI which is able to look up the document and answer the queries for the users, that is what we can do through Ikai. And that is the LLM capability which we are using here. But then we are bringing everything in one place and in a proper structure to enable it in the best possible way. So here are a few more examples, like you have your company policy documents, your holiday calendars, you can have your summarization, reasoning, recommendation related problems. So maybe an insurance company giving recommendations on which policy is suitable for the user. So things like that. And of course, since it is supported by ChatGPT, it is always ready to chit chat with you and give a general response to your queries. Whether it just be like being an AI model, I really don't know the answer, but still it will give you a response and it will give you a feeling of conversation. Finally, you can also have text to image kind of capabilities. You can interact with other models like DALI 2, or you can make use of Whisper APIs and connect to YouTube or other audios and like summarize YouTube videos. So there's actually no end to what you can do through this powerful LLMs. And Ikai being the platform which is giving you the connection to these different capabilities with a single interface. So finally, before I move on to the demo, I'll quickly talk about the advantages which we are trying to achieve through Ikai. First of all, it is a tailored solution with complete control and flexibility. So it is like your own application with your own look and feel and your own requirements of what APIs you want, what knowledge base you want, and what kind of behavior you want. So you have your conversation design in advance to have the possible conversations and the possible scenarios you would want it to handle. Then you have a user-centric design, because obviously you are giving a more human-centric behavior and more customer engaging interface. It is using the latest tools and models, and we keep upgrading it to use the best in-class models and tools which are upcoming in this field. And you know that is like a really frequently updating ecosystem. Also, we try to handle, and currently we are handling all these aspects by different LLMs. We have started with OpenAI, but we are also looking at using the other open APIs or open models to handle specific aspects wherever and whichever part they fit in. Of course, there is no cloud or vendor lock-in, because this is a platform which enables you to build your own ecosystem, and with complete control. You can select the cloud of your choice. You can also, if you have an existing framework you want to integrate with, you can as well do that. And with the features of scalability and performance, by ensuring the behavior of having the composability and containerized approach in order to handle like more load and have the auto-scaled environment with its deployment approach. So with this, before I conclude, I'll quickly show you some aspect of the application. So you can see this Ikai application where we are trying to, so we have an in-house tool, EngageWell, for keeping a huge repository for resumes and converting all the unstructured resumes to a structured database. And through this interface, we are able to interact with that through the APIs and actually search for different resumes here. So this is connected to that system and getting the information through APIs. Also, we are using the natural language to API conversion capability, and we are able to like formulate the questions in different pattern and get the response here. Also, we are using it for like we have tuned it for some insurance related documents and FAQs, which is the like a custom knowledge base which we have used, and the same bot is able to cater to those questions also. So there is an intent classification layer which decides what kind of question is this and accordingly handles it and routes it to the corresponding knowledge base. So you can see like the last two questions are related to the insurance domain. So you're asking for a MWPA is a concept in insurance. Then now moving on to the employee context, like we are checking when is the next holiday. So it is again integrated with a different knowledge base, which has the company policies and the holiday calendar of the company. So using this, it is able to respond to these queries related to leave policy or related to the holiday. So these are some aspects of how we are handling AI and like handling different behaviors in a single interface, being able to interact with different applications in a single interface. So with this, I come to the end of my presentation. So we can take the questions.
Thank you, Abhilasha. We do have a few questions waiting for you all. The first one being from Nikhil Pal: is LLM app stack suitable for privacy policies domain?
Hey, Prince Yu, if you don't mind, I know I answered a couple of questions in chat, and I think probably those might be better addressed live. So if you don't mind, I want to go back to.
Sure. Of course we can. Yes.
And I think one of those was around are LLMs going to make conversational AI frameworks obsolete?
Yes, are LLMs going to make conversational AI frameworks obsolete? Exactly. Yeah, that's the first.
Yeah. So, you know, in my view, LLMs have significantly advanced the capabilities of conversational AI. But in my opinion, they're not going to replace conversational AI frameworks or make them obsolete, right? I think both LLMs and conversational AI frameworks serve different purposes, really, and they have their own advantages, really. While I would say that like LLMs have shown great progress because they can generate conversational responses, they're really more commonly used as components within conversational AI frameworks rather than a standalone solution. So to me, the key is by combining the two, you have great strength, right? So combining LLMs and conversational AI frameworks, that gives developers a way to create really powerful and customizable conversational AI applications that are tailored more towards their enterprise needs, whatever that enterprise is that they're supporting. So I think in summary, really, the two work well in concert together, and I think they're just very complementary. So I don't see conversational AI frameworks going away by any means.
Right, thank you. We have another question from Nick R. Okay, so we have this question. Fine. So
yeah, Pranchu, I'll take that question. So
yeah.
Is LLM app stack suitable for privacy policies domain? So basically, most of this LLM app stack which we saw, so it would depend on the different like aspects of the tools which you pick up from the app stack, and all these tools are capable of you can say handling the privacy policies. So if we look at OpenAI itself, so OpenAI is has all the compliance requirements for handling the data privacy and it complies with GDPR, CCPA, and it has like the required support, and it promises not to like make use of the data which we pass for querying is not used by OpenAI in any ways. So it takes care of data privacy in the like best possible way, and most of these tools support that. Moving on to the next question. Does Ikai work with other enterprise applications and can be integrated with them? So like Ikai is a framework which is capable of being integrated with other applications. So the only thing which will have to be worked out is the kind of like the authentication and authorization which is being used by other applications, and accordingly it will be you can say configured into Ikai, and that would ensure a seamless integration. So depending on if you have like an integration need where you have to move to the front end of the enterprise application, so there you would need a single sign-on. If it is only an API integration which you're looking for, then anyways it is a matter of authorization, and that would be taken care of in the backend, and it can be seamlessly integrated. So the technology stack we used in Ikai is mainly Python, with the other tools which we saw just now, like the the question is, what are the technology stack you used in Ikai? Is it compatible with Java, Python? So the technology stack is mainly Python and LangChain and Llama Index, as I showed the ecosystem, right? So the main tools. So for database, we have used Pinecone, and for prompt logging, we have used PromptLayer. For validation, we have used Rebuff. So, and for evaluation, we are using Langsmith. So these are the different tools we have used, and all these are in Python only. So Python is the main language in the background. As you mentioned that it is no cloud or vendor locked in. So yeah, basically like it is a framework, as I mentioned. So you are independent. It will be a solution which will be implemented as the enterprise specific needs. It can be implemented in the cloud of your choice, and there is no closed source vendor lock-in here, because it is a instance which is configured and deployed for the enterprise. So it will be the enterprise application for the enterprise, and not locked in with any vendor. Like for example, the other frameworks have their own lock-in, and that is where so here we are using the LLM capability, and then you can deploy it in Azure, AWS, or the cloud of your choice, GCP, whichever it may be. And in the background, we are using the OpenAI models, and if there is a need, we can also look at the other models. Hope I've answered the question.
Yeah, I think so, Abhilasha. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think I don't see any other questions.
Yes, I suppose we have answered all. So thanks a lot, everyone. Thank you to our speakers once again, and I hope you found this session insightful and useful. I hope to see you all again for a future session. So thanks a lot, everyone. Bye.
Very good. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.